people need to know that there's only 3 reasons they're sick, right? Thoughts, traumas, or toxins.
When the toxic bucket gets too full, it will tip over and then we will have dis-ease, or the skin will start to show us that things inside are imbalanced. So oftentimes, actually, the skin is a late warning sign. To be honest, one of the first things you'll start to notice when things are a bit off is going to be your sleep, your energy, more negative emotional thoughts. That's why your technology is so helpful.
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better 1 billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Hey, BrainTap Nation, this is Dr. Patrick Porter. I'm here at the Biohacking Convention. I'm here with the radiant one, Rachel Varga, and I was just on her podcast, but now we get to be in person here, so I thought, let's grab her and see how she's been using BrainTap, because you know she's got one, but also how's it affecting her. What her big deal is here is she's really into the skin, getting people to have healthy skin, which means you have a healthy life and a healthy brain and healthy body. So first of all, I guess let's start with, tell us a little bit about your BrainTap adventure. What's been happening with you and BrainTap?
I would say BrainTap has nothing short of being able to save me. I personally have been going through an enormous transformation in my life. And one of the things I love about your affirmations and your meditations and your work in BrainTap is getting us in those positive emotional states. Nobody wants to hang out with the negative Nancy.
Right.
Everyone wants to hang out with the positive Patty. And of course, radiant Rachel's. Or,
There you go. There you go.
or Ray's, right? And this has really helped me to stay in the positive emotional state. And what happens to our faces when we're in a negative state, we're going to be frowning, we're going to be showing expressions that emit sadness or self-doubt or just negativity. So if we're in more of a positive emotional state, our face will show this and people will pick up on those emotions. And I've done training to get myself out of those negative emotional states to be more radiant so that my cells and everything work better. And so my aging is slowed and I'm not in cortisol. And sometimes when I just feel like I need that extra help with BrainTap, your technology is there. And oftentimes I fall asleep with it on.
That's fine. Your brain's still getting the training. So
Yes.
we tell people the only thing you need to do is just keep breathing.
Yeah.
So as long as that happens.
Honestly, though, your technology has really allowed me to continue to sleep well, even during difficult times, right? Life isn't always a bed of roses. Sometimes there's obstacles and challenges.
Yes.
So when it comes to reshaping your life, your meditations and affirmations for calling in health, wealth, abundance, that positive state, I just can't relay enough of how much your product has helped me.
That's awesome. Well, a lot of people have told us over the years they use BrainTap when they fly, but you were telling me earlier about how you were using it on the airplane. So maybe you can share a little bit about BrainTap in flight.
Yes,
what was happening for you?
Absolutely. Well, I recently moved and everything, and I was like, I really want to make sure I have this BrainTap with me while, things are being shipped and all of that. So what I did was I actually put the BrainTap headset around my neck, and it wasn't too cumbersome to travel with. And then I use it, I got in my seat, and I just started doing BrainTap sessions. I think I did about 4 or 5 of them. And I didn't watch a movie or anything like that. And then your talk today was really interesting because you shared on some of the times that you've traveled and have been on flights, what happens to your brain afterwards. You don't have as much of the cellular activity and power that you typically have at your baseline. So I would postulate that actually doing BrainTap while I was on a 5-hour and 55-minute flight that landed at 5:05 p.m., that it helped to protect my brain during that process with all the extra electromagnetics, with everyone using their Bluetooth and things like that. Yes, I had my EMF protective silver threaded clothing on at the same time, and I feel like it really helped. I didn't have cravings either for the airplane foods that aren't good for you or alcohol.
Exactly.
I stuck with water, actually hydrogen water. And
that's awesome. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Let's talk about your biohacking journey and what's going on with you. What's new with you? What are you doing? I mean, when we walked up, you were using these charging rods and things like that. Something I'd never heard of before, and I thought I knew about everything pretty much. I've never seen that. So tell us a little bit about what's new and different that's making your life more radiant.
Well, it's sort of like someone asking me about my evening skincare routine,
Yes.
it's extensive.
Yes.
So to slow aging, to have the best hair, skin, nails of our life, to be a radiant human, it's not going to happen by accident. It does take effort, and it's about having the strategies and the tools and the community and the right people at the right time, as you like to say in your BrainTap. They're along for the ride. And I actually just published a paper as a researcher. I'm a double board certified aesthetic nurse specialist and active researcher. I've published over 6 journals, UK and US journals. And this article is on oxidative stress status and the skin, AKA toxins in our environment, which you are very, very well spoken on, and what we can do about it to mitigate the effects on the skin. So what you study to support the brain is also going to support the skin, because the brain is the master control center. So in my research, the top ways to support the skin with our environmental toxins we're exposed to, you have to biohack. And what I mean by biohack is purify, and then your technology is more supportive, right? So first of all, to purify, your exposure to heavy metals, mold, and other toxins in the air, so air purifiers in the home and office and in your car. And then also water purification, so no longer drinking tap water, distilled, reverse osmosis, hydrogen, charge that water up, get the electrical voltage increased in that to be more negative, because we can be more too positive, right? We want to be positive emotionally, just not electromagnetically.
Right, yes.
So also purifying our exposure to electromagnetics is really important. And I know with your technology, you have technology built in to negate the Bluetooth effects, because I'm one of those people that are more hypersensitive to electromagnetics. So purifying our air, water, electromagnetics. So that's why I mentioned flying with silver-lined clothing. And even when I'm in hotels, I bring my silver threaded sheets, so I'm protected. And then also lighting. So typically I have blue light blocking glasses on. However, for the purpose of interviews, sometimes it can reflect not so positively on the lenses. But purifying your junk lighting, which you're aware of, which is why I love the light frequencies that you have in your technologies, because it's the frequencies that are actually going to be supportive, and especially with the hypnosis point, it's so key. So air, water, lighting, electromagnetics, and then also detoxing. So sauna use, ionic foot baths, also detoxing those negative thoughts and negative emotional states. So that's where technology like BrainTap comes in. Everyone always goes to the red light therapy, all these other different types of modalities first, but we first need to focus on purification to be radiant and slow aging. And we're talking priestess style purification, not just, halving it. It's like, this is part of the lifestyle.
Right, yeah, it's really important. We just purchased 88 acres to put a healing retreat center in New Bern. First thing we did was get a whole house purification system for air and water.
Perfect.
Because it had well water, but it was terrible. But what would you say if somebody's having problems with their skin, besides what you just said, but what specifically can they start doing right now, do you think, because a lot of people, they think that the skin isn't, they don't know the skin is the biggest elimination organ. So they just—
It's your biggest organ in general.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what would you start somebody out doing? What's the first biohack?
So definitely purification. However, I'd love to just jump back to something really important that you mentioned. When people start to see things happening on their skin. So say, for example, eczema, psoriasis, an increase in acne, redness, dermatitis, the corners of the nose, corners of the mouth, especially around springtime and fall time with seasonal allergies. The oxidative stress status that I have information on in my recent paper is also something that in layman's terms could be referred to as the toxic bucket. When the toxic bucket gets too full, it will tip over, and then we will have dis-ease, or the skin will start to show us that things inside are imbalanced. So oftentimes, actually, the skin is a late warning sign. To be honest, one of the first things you'll start to notice when things are a bit off is going to be your sleep, your energy, more negative emotional thoughts. That's why your technology is so helpful to keep people on what I like to consider that straight and narrow. So always listening to the skin is really important. That's why, sometimes when people think of me as a skin nurse, they could think that's very superficial, but in fact, the skin is the largest organ. It is the largest detox organ. And if we get very good at listening to what the skin tells us, then we can make adjustments in our lifestyle from there. So if you're noticing when you get extra stressed out, you're not getting enough sleep, when you're not eating well, you have the eczema, psoriasis, extra breakouts, hyperpigmentation pop up, you need to start to notice that. And then for myself, when I know that things are humming along nicely with my cellular voltage, which I was charging up prior to this with zinc and copper, love different types of elemental or energy technologies, light frequency to basically support the body and the cells. And when the skin is looking great, or say, for example, I can be outside in the sun and not burn as quickly, that's when I know my internal toxic bucket or oxidative stress status is emptier. So I can actually accommodate that extra UV exposure because I love the sun, right? Yeah. You were talking about one of the most lacking vitamins that we have is vitamin sunshine.
Yeah. Right, so important. Now here at the conference, we got a lot of new things and different things. You've been walking around. I know you've been in the conference rooms. It's only the first day right now, so there's a lot more to see. But what have you seen out there that got you a little excited? Besides BrainTap, we already talked about that. But what else have you seen in the vendor hall or around that maybe people should take notice of?
Yeah, well, you are the most important, like the person I was most excited to see here. I think you already know that. Yeah. I mean, we support each other, right? This is life mission work. And when you find those people with the right technology at the right time, you really stick with them. So absolutely most excited to see BrainTap and yourself. And the other thing I would say is actually hyperbaric oxygen chambers. These are really great. So when you come to events like this, I'm in that hyperbarics as often as I can. I'll be bringing my BrainTap in with me this time because you mentioned that you can do that.
As long as they don't have oxygen in there, you can do it. Most of them don't. They don't need oxygen for the brain and nervous system. So
got it.
Or you can use a Kepler and use 30% oxygen or something.
Good to know. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah. In my experience, when there's always new kids on the block, as a researcher, and I've performed over 20,000 rejuvenation procedures, you never want to go with the bright, shiny object syndrome. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You always want to make sure things have been used on the general population for at least 7 to 8 years before even going near it. Right. So when there's new technology in the biohacking space, you do want to end the skincare space and the skin gimmick space. You really have to take a moment, okay, who's the person behind the company? Because there are technologies out there that don't have good people, where my values don't align with them. So I'm not going to talk about or promote their product or even use it, because what's the potential energy behind that as well? So those are things that I consider. How long has it been on the market for? And who's behind the company? And also, how do I feel using the technology? So that's why having our own shows and podcasts is so great, because we get the opportunity to meet the founders and CEOs behind the company and really get a sense of what their values are. And the general population doesn't have that option. So we're very fortunate that we can come to these events and bump shoulders and have shows and get to know these people. But there's always brand new things. Especially in the skincare space, there's always these brand new compounds, chemicals and compounds. Not every chemical is bad, right? Parabens, phthalates, sulfates, artificial dyes, fragrances. Fragrances that use phthalates, yes, those are bad. But then there's also compounds and ingredients that are in the biohacking space that can be used in skincare, and it's just not established. Sure, it can be a clean formula. It can be a compound that works in other avenues, say, for example, peptides, which is best delivered actually subcutaneously through the tissue using a hypodermic needle. So sometimes it's also the action of delivery for things like really popular and trendy peptides and these things. So you want skincare especially to be clean, but you also want it to perform. So that's where I come in and help navigate that stuff.
Oh, that's great. We're on a mission to better 1 billion brains, and you're part of that mission because you're sharing your work and your life, and we want to share your work with people because people need to know that there's only 3 reasons they're sick, right? Thoughts, traumas, or toxins.
Right,
like if somebody gets
yes.
burned or something, you can't really, there's some things you can do for the skin, but a lot of times like with brain injuries and things like that, there are things you can do.
Well, I shared with you, I was in 2 car crashes.
Yeah.
I noticed a huge difference after the car crash. The first one, breakouts all on my neck. And then the second one, again, breakouts all on my neck. So pay attention when your body's going through trauma.
Yeah.
What's happening? And the body keeps score, right?
Yeah.
So we have thoughts, trauma, and toxins. I 100% agree with you on that.
Where are you at now? Where can somebody come and see you, or besides online, they can see all, I mean, you're really active on Instagram, sharing tips and tricks and things like that are effective, sharing your, whatever's going on in your life and bringing great guests onto your shows, things like that. Yeah. Not just me, but
You're one of my favorite
too.
guests. Well, I'm from Vancouver Island, so that's how I know Dave Asprey. He sought out my services for skin and rejuvenation to get ready for Superhuman.
Okay.
So when you see the cover of that book, that's my face magic. However, in 2017, I actually started offering remote sessions for clients. So I was having people fly in and see me, France, Germany, Dubai, New York, California. There's so much we can do at home though. So I went from about 60% in-clinic rejuvenation, 40% home care to now 90% home care. So skincare, dermal rolling, at-home peels, biohacking to only 10% in clinic. So there's so much we can do at home without having to, show up to a clinician once a month. So that's truly my passion, is what can we do to slow aging, and especially with that 90% home care, it's going to save time and money in the long run. So sessions are available with me across the globe. Actually, I have a number of clients here at the event, right? And that's all on my website at rachelvarga.ca.
Do you have a course like that people can learn about all these home care techniques and things to use them?
I sure do.
So tell us about that.
So what I love to do with my clients is to develop the cake recipe. So that's their at-home customized skincare routine, okay? And then I work with practitioner-grade products, clean, talk about dermal rolling. So that's the one-on-one session. We also talk about biohacking, specific lifestyle tweaks and biohacks to support the skin, budget, lifestyle of whatever those clients' values are. So that's the cake, the cake recipe. Now we want to talk about the icing on the cake, how to put the products on, how to ice that cake, right? So that's my seasonal skin camp programs. Because each season there's different products we might want to use, might need a little bit more hydration in one season than the other, as well as rejuvenation. Things can be basically optimized. Say in the summertime, we don't want to do intense pulse light photobiomodulation. You might want to save that for the winter. And so on my tutorials, how to apply products during skin camp. And then the cherry on top, this is what I'm here to do. I can do the other stuff with my eyes closed, but the cherry on top stuff is the radiant stuff. This is the school of radiance. This is where my heart is, my passion. This is basically how we can incorporate detoxification, how we can incorporate positive emotional thoughts, balancing our masculine and feminine energies. And really, what are the things that I do behind the scenes? Meditation, spiritual practices, lifestyle practices that I'm just not comfortable sharing anywhere else. That's the School of Radiance. So one-on-one sessions, skin camp programs, and then the School of Radiance.
That's great. And how do they reach you? How would somebody reach out to you and start? We're going to put it in any show notes or any postings, but maybe you can share that. So
yeah, absolutely. Everything is on my website at rachelvarga.ca.
Okay.
And then I have a free guide. It's the skincare checklist, which when you go on the website, you'll get that as well. I love to give. And then also School of Radiance, there's a 30-minute training. And so that's all on the main website, rachelvarga.ca.
That's awesome. So when you think about the School of Radiance and your cherry on top, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What do you see if I was to interview you at not this conference or another, and we're talking about all the great things Rachel's been going through over the 5 years, what are we going to learn about you?
The fact that I listen to my heart, and by following faith and going where those right doors open at the right time and make those right decisions, which again, I know that you talk about in your BrainTap meditations, doing that. I know I'm already stepping into, with my new life here in Florida, into more health, wealth, abundance, family, love. So this is a huge transition point that I'm in at the moment. However, I wouldn't have made it this far if I didn't have the right community and the right support. And at the end of the day, the why of skin and rejuvenation is confidence to form community. So that's the true why. That's a really positive state and value to place on improving our skin, how we speak, our gestures. So I'm always studying these things, to get on stages as well. But they're so great for us to be able to communicate with others. So I'm really excited to see how my community and network has continued to expand to support myself and learning through all those incredible fellow souls on a mission, to help 1 billion people be even happier and healthier. We've been part of a similar health collective since 2017 that Dave Asprey actually said, Rachel, you need to join this. And so we've been in league together for quite some time.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really positive about what's to come, and we'll check in. And it's funny you mentioned Sedona. So that is a highly energetic area, and that was a place where actually I just felt called to go to. From my heart, I always wanted to go. So actually after one of the health events we were at, I needed to integrate. So then I did a long 5 to 7 day fast, completely changed my physiology. Started to see things clearly, knew I needed to completely shift my life. So that's been a very powerful place for me. And actually the School of Radiance, all the pictures on that website, theschoolofradiance.com, the pictures, the inspirations, a lot of it came from there. And then of course meeting soul family, love, and all of that is a huge part.
That's awesome. I really want you to go to the website, check out what Rachel's doing, because if there's something to do with radiance and skincare, and if you want to follow, I always love people who not just talk the talk, because I've seen you at so many events now, and just bumping into you and seeing you online, you always seem to be the example. And that's what I always look for. If you see somebody and they're cussing out the waiter or something like that, and then you see them giving a talk about peace. My wife and I were driving down the road one time, and this guy was yelling and screaming. And then when we went by and we saw his bumper sticker says, "Too blessed to be stressed." And I go, did he read his bumper sticker? He wasn't like living his truth. And it seems like you're always living your truth. It's like you're in the moment. You're in the right space, mind space I'm talking about, and being present for what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, do your skincare routine with your BrainTap. When you rise, you want to, maybe start your day off with a BrainTap session, 15, 20-minute session to get clear, to get creative for the day. And maybe actually even midday. Sometimes I'll do that. Instead of maybe taking a nap, I might just charge up with the BrainTap session. And then in the evening, do your skincare routine. Take your PM supplements like magnesium, and I'm a huge fan of antioxidants, omegas, for basically fueling the cells. Antioxidants, omegas, and collagen. So I always take those in the evening, and then I'll do my BrainTap. And then most of the time I'll fall asleep with BrainTap on. So it's really fitting these things into your lifestyle, and just staying positive. And getting right with God, having some type of spiritual faith practice. That's one of the things I love about you, is when I go to events and I see fellow radiant humans, the whole point of being radiant is we get stronger with our community. So when you become radiant, you can find those people at events that are also radiant, and you're going to have the best connection and also the greatest impact for not only your life, but also to continue to help others as well. Like you said earlier today, putting on your oxygen mask first is really important. And women often don't do that, especially mothers, and then they get burnt out and they're working like a man, they're too much in their masculine. So it's this beautiful balance. And when I see you with you and your wife, you're just a beautiful couple. So I love to know who's behind the company and who I'm supporting, and what their relationships are like as well. So you're doing great work.
Thank you. Yeah. Our mission's more important than anything else. Money will follow if you're helping enough people.
Absolutely.
That's my thing. I'm always being asked, why are you only charging what I charge? And I said, because in the 80s when I invented the technology, it was $500. So it's not that much more today. But I said, we want more people to use it, not less. The reason we like partnering with people like yourself is that you're doing something like you're talking about confidence. Self-esteem is going to improve. Then you can become your own
you can navigate your own life instead of turning on the news to figure out what you're supposed to do tomorrow. So I think that's very powerful. So I'm going to encourage everyone out there at BrainTap Nation, go to rachelvarga.ca and check it out. Go to the School of Radiance.
Yep, schoolofradiance.com, the Always Radiant Skin podcast.
Yeah, follow those things. Check her out on her Instagram. She's always doing incredible things, has great guests on there, but you also a lot of great tips. I'm sharing them with Cynthia all the time.
I actually need to record a session for BrainTap,
yes, you do.
A beauty and radiance meditation.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, we'd love to have a few of those. That'd be great.
I absolutely will.
We need more female voices, my female impersonation.
I love your
voices.
Voice, though. Yeah. I love listening to yours.
Yeah, we'll do it up. Yeah, well, people are drawn to you. So if you took your routine and what your radiance thoughts and things like that, we could do a series. I think people would love it.
Absolutely. Just tell me how I can be of service.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll put that together. So you heard it here. Rachel's going to keep being radiant. She's going to keep sharing with the world, and we're going to see her learn and grow and develop and help us on our mission to better a billion brains. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.